Have you ever gotten good at something, like really good, top 10% in terms of skill or accomplishment, to the point where people recognize you for it? You start feeling proud of yourself, or others might say that you should feel proud, or that they are proud of you. You start recalling proverbs like, pride goes before a fall, or people warn you, don't be too proud. Apparently, pride is both an evil thing to be avoided and a virtue to be embraced. So, how does a man navigate the murky waters of pride and humility? The first thing to note is that the word pride covers a wide range of emotions and concepts, as does the word humility. To avoid confusion, I'm going to break it down into 4 words, representing positive and negative forms of each word. Pride I will use in the positive. Think of it as a pride that has been earned, a sense of satisfaction with yourself, or the exaltation of another. In the negative, I will use arrogance. Whether earned or not, arrogance is a selfish feeling that fuels conflict and hostility. Humility is not the inverse of pride, but it is the opposite of arrogance, and it relies on not valuing yourself over others. But abasement places yourself under others due to self-loathing or a desire to be seen as the most humble person of all. A masculine man is capable of reflecting on his emotions and objectively recognizing where he succeeds and where he fails. It's important to keep monitoring ourselves and to have friends and family to examine us, to steer us away from both arrogance and abasement. And it is also incredibly important to take pride in ourselves and what we're capable of while remaining humble before God and our fellow man. I remember very distinctly one night when I was deployed to Afghanistan. I was a young man, very fit and strong, and noticeably smarter than all of my coworkers. We were taking a smoke break, and one of the airmen I was friends with looked at me and said, "You know, Sergeant, you're really arrogant." I considered it for a moment and then replied, "Sure, but if I'm better at everything, shouldn't I be?" And his reply hit me like a truck. "Yeah, but you're an asshole about it." And that's the crux of arrogance. Sure, you may be better at something, or even many somethings compared to everybody you know, but how do you treat people because of it? Arrogance drives a separating wedge between you and others, allowing for them to be treated poorly just because they're not as good. It can be fueled by legitimate accomplishments, or by imagined competence, or even a self-perpetuating sense of virtue and moral superiority. You don't even need to be outwardly and openly hostile to others to have your life tainted by an arrogant soul. Arrogance eventually builds up a person's sense of power and superiority, and they begin to believe that they cannot fail. The oligarch who gets himself and his friends killed because he's sure that his self-designed invention is impervious to danger. The craftsman who loses his fingers because he's too good to be careless. The surgeon who loses a patient because, well, he's too experienced to make a mistake. Arrogance is lethal to relationships, lives, and even nations. The more healthy form of pride is one that recognizes your capabilities in comparison to others while not using it as an excuse to look down on them. You may be a better chess player than somebody else, but the only reason this should matter is if you're competing against them or you're teaching them. Even if you're superior by an order of magnitude, there's no room for treating the other person as lesser. Healthy pride relies on an objective, realistic view of oneself and a comparison not only to others, but to your past self. You can certainly be proud of the skills you've developed or things you've accomplished, even if you know you're not as impressive as somebody else. This is, of course, not a substitute for contentment and satisfaction in life, but it can be a contributing factor. Accept your setbacks with grace, reject complacency, and always acknowledge your capacity for mistakes. You can even brag a bit, as long as you're mindful and don't let yourself become insufferable about it. It's even possible for healthy pride to be stung. An insult, a failure to perform, a failure to recognize the accomplishments that you've become proud of. When that sting arrives, process your feelings and analyze your reactions. Disappointment, sadness, even a bit of anger. These are all valid emotional responses, and they will drive a healthy person to improve themselves or to seek counsel on where they failed to measure up. Rage or despondence, on the other hand, those are signs of arrogance, and you should seek somebody you trust to help you find the humility that you need. Now, before I touch on humility, I'd like to go over the pride that you feel as part of a group. You see it all the time. Pride in nation, pride in skin color, ethnicity, even subculture. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, as belonging to a group is an important part of being human, and when we identify with that group, we often form an emotional connection. Be proud of who you are, and that includes the groups that you belong to. Just don't be a jerk about it. And that's really the primary antidote to the destructiveness of arrogance. Treat people well, and don't consider yourself beyond needing help. A masculine man is humble, and a humble man does not look down on others. Humility acknowledges differences that people have, and doesn't factor those differences in when it comes to showing respect, kindness, or love. Even when you are better than another person by every metric you can think of, you can still be humble and treat them as an equal. And it's not just how you treat them, but how you truly see the other people in your heart. Can you behave as if somebody is your equal, even if in your eyes they are wildly greater or lesser than you? Can you smile, look them in the eyes, and hold a sincere conversation? Can you hold them accountable when they have erred? Can you give them grace and forgiveness when they're repentant? Can you do that without forcing yourself to? Humility shows through in our actions. Obedience to authority requires humility, even if we disagree with that authority. Admitting that a project has failed and either abandoning or restarting it can only happen after we've swallowed our arrogance. Extending an olive branch to somebody who has offended or harmed you is a difficult act of humility. Imagine a humbleness so great that you chose to die to save a group of people who don't even like you. But don't misconstrue humility as submissiveness or allowing others to mistreat you. If you hold yourself to be equal in value to them, then it follows that you don't put up with abuse outside of extraordinary circumstances. Once you've moved past we're equals and into I'm lesser, you've gone past humility and entered abasement. Abasement is just as unhealthy as arrogance, and in my opinion, it's just as damaging to our souls and our society. Lowering your worth in your own eyes prevents self-improvement and can easily lock you into a life of misery. There's a world of difference between knowing you're not skilled enough to complete a task and deciding that you'll never be skilled enough to complete it. If you're always thinking of others as your betters, resentment and despair begin to fester in your heart. Surprisingly, abasement and arrogance can go hand in hand. When a person considers themselves far superior to another, but know that such arrogance is frowned upon, they'll put on a performance of bowing and scraping to those they really consider to be their lessers. You can still see their arrogance and how that performance plays out. They heap praise upon minor actions, and they go on about how much lower they and their group are. What is worse is, in their delusion, they may see themselves as truly virtuous. One of the best lessons you can find on how to be humble can be found in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 14. In it, Jesus instructs you to place yourself lower than you think you are so that you can be brought up to where you actually belong. He cautions against the inverse, placing yourself high and giving yourself honor to prevent being brought down to where you should be. Whether you think it's by God, or the universe, or fate, or even just random chance, those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. Take that lesson to heart. Strive to improve yourself. Take pride in your improvement or your relative capability, and then sit with the newbies or with those who struggle. Teach while being open to lessons you may not have expected. Perhaps in this life, you'll find yourself a respected leader, or a sought-after craftsman, or a wildly successful CEO, as those in authority see your capabilities and reward you for it. Or maybe you never reach that point in this world and can only look forward to acknowledgement in the next. A humble man accepts both with grace and with joy. A balanced and masculine man has elements of both pride and humility within him. He should take pride in what he's done, things that he's accomplished, or the challenges he's overcome. Be proud enough to stand up for yourself and to put yourself forward when hearing a call that you know you can meet. Be humble enough to accept when you're not the best and to extend grace to those who are below you in fortune or capability. Perhaps most of all, have the humility to find joy in where you are and the pride to take joy in where you've gotten to. Let your healthy sense of pride drive you towards self-improvement, and let your healthy humbleness drive you towards improving the lives of others. Flee the empty selfishness of arrogance and the empty selflessness of abasement. It's not easy, but it is good. So until next time, take care, and God bless.